This is a high-rise building in China, but it's not built for housing people. What you're looking at is a hog hotel, and this is how the Chinese are building hog barns to keep up with pork demand. Pork is the most consumed type of meat in the Chinese diet, and China accounts for more than a half of the global pig population. Around 60% of China's entire meat industry output is pork. In 2022, Chinese farmers produced around 55.41 million metric tons of pork, which is an increase from around 52 million metric tons in the previous year. Chinese people love of pigs and pork traces back to the Stone Ages. Archaeological evidence suggests that the Chinese domesticated pigs from wild boars around 8,000 to 9,000 years ago. Pigs are traditionally associated in Chinese culture with prosperity and good health, and up until 1976, pigs were primarily valued for their manure, as they have the ability to convert household and agricultural scraps into nutrients needed to produce high-value crops such as grains. Until recently, most Chinese people ate pork only on special occasions such as Spring Festival, which made the meat a luxury. In the past, and even in some rural areas today in China, people live in close proximity to pigs, as most families raise a few on their lands. When pigs were being domesticated in China, it gave rise to the creation of different breeds of pigs that matured faster and birthed larger litters. One such pig is the Magshan pig, which is one of the oldest domesticated pig breed in the world. The Magshan pig belongs to the Taiyu group of Chinese pigs that also includes Fengjing, Jiaxan, and Henjin strains from different districts of China. The Magshan pig gets its name from a lake in China's Jiangsu province and are prized for their succulent meat and superior lard and fat quality. Magshan pigs are small to medium size and can reach weights of 275 to 400 pounds. They have distinct large drooping ears and wrinkled black skin. They are known to be extremely quiet compared to other breeds of pigs and are docile and very inactive, which makes them very easy to manage. Another trait they are known for is producing large litters of piglets. They are able to produce 15 to 22 piglets 2 times per year, and they reach puberty within 3 months. Because of those traits, the Magshan pigs were imported into Europe and the United States, where farmers began to breed them with their domestic pigs, which gave rise to modern breeds like Yorkshires and Landrace. As mentioned before, eating pork in China was once a luxury, but over the years that has changed, and today Chinese people consume more than half of all pork produced in the entire world. It is estimated that the average Chinese person eats 108 pounds of meat per year, with over 60% of that amount being pork. Or, in other words, each person in China consumes 67 pounds of pork annually. In the last year, approximately 700 million hogs were sold in China, which means that there is 1 pig for every 2 persons for the country's 1.4 billion people. Now, what has caused this increase of pork consumption? Well, over the past 3 decades, China has experienced rapid economical growth, and as people became richer, they replaced their traditional plant-based dietary system to a more meat-based diet. Therefore, meat such as pork, which were once luxury food and only consumed during important ceremonies and festivals, over time became the daily food for most Chinese people. With the increase in consumption, China went from a country that was once self-sufficient in pork production and had to turn to imports. In 2007, China began to import significant quantities of pork to keep up with demand as domestic supplies run short. From 2007 to 2014, China's pork imports significantly increased, with an annual average growth rate of 150%. In 2014, China imported 564,000 metric tons of pork, and in 2022, they imported 1.7 million metric tons, with the highest amount imported in 2020 at 4.4 million metric tons. The reason for the increase in pork imports in 2020 was due to the African swine fever virus, which spread in China in 2018 and wiped out millions of pigs, resulting in a decline in the meat output and sending pork prices to new heights, which caused the government to release pork from its National Pork Reserve. Now, you might be wondering, what is a pork reserve? In the 1970s, the Chinese government established a strategic pork reserve as a way to deal with emergencies and stabilize prices when necessary. China rarely publishes data about the amount of pork in its reserves, but the amount is believed to be in the hundreds of thousands of metric tons. Most of the meat in the reserve are kept in cold storage, and the government also keeps a reserve of live hogs, which it releases to farmers in times of shortage. To help increase the production of pork and reduce the imports, China is turning to a model of raising pigs that has not been seen in any other pork-producing countries, and that's raising pigs in buildings spanning multiple stories. These buildings are called hog hotels and houses tens of thousands of pigs. The tallest hog hotel in China is 26 stories tall and is built by a company called UB Zhongxing Kaiwi Modern Farming Company Limited. The company is expected to produce 54,000 tons of pork from a herd of 600,000 annually in its 26-story, 400,000 square meter buildings, which will make them the country's largest pig breeding site. As for the biggest pork company in China, that title goes to WH Group, a publicly traded Chinese multinational meat and food processing company headquartered in Hong Kong. The company has 15 facilities that produce more than 2.7 million tons of meat per year, processing over 15 million pigs, of which approximately 400,000 raised by the company and the rest sourced from suppliers. In May 2013, WH Group announced its intention of purchasing Smithfield Foods. The deal was completed in September of that year, and they paid $4.7 billion to acquire Smithfield Foods, the world's largest pig and pork producer. With the Chinese economy still growing, we can expect there to be many more people who will be consuming more and more pork, which will lead to an increasing industrialized style of raising pigs. What do you guys think about China's pork industry?